In the Gospel of Philip, there is a line that the Church Fathers tried to erase from every translation. The two who are one. They never explained who the two were. They let you believe it was a metaphor. But the Gnostics knew. They knew the secret names of the twin flames of the divine feminine. Lilith and Mary Magdalene. Not enemies, not opposites, two faces of the same primordial force. Sophia, the wisdom of God that predates creation itself. The Church looked at this teaching and saw the end of their empire. They couldn't allow a feminine principle that was both wild and wise to exist, so they split her in two. They took the knife of dogma and severed the archetype. They painted Lilith as the demon, the night monster, the rebellious woman who refused to submit to Adam and was cast out of Eden to kill children in the dark. And Mary Magdalene? They called her the prostitute, the repentant sinner, the broken woman who needed to be saved by a man. Both stories are lies, carefully constructed distortions designed to bury the same dangerous truth, that the divine feminine does not need permission, does not need saving, and cannot be controlled. But here is what the Gnostics preserved in the secret jars of Nag Hammadi. Lilith and Mary are not two different women. They are two expressions of Sophia, the wisdom of God made flesh. And every chosen one, every soul watching this video carries both frequencies in their DNA. The wild, untamed refusal to bow that is Lilith. The illuminated, quiet knowing that transcends all teaching that is Mary. And when you activate both, when you stop choosing between rebellion and devotion, between fire and grace, you become what the Church feared most. Sophia incarnate. Whole. Awake. Ungovernable. Tonight, the split ends. Tonight, you are going to learn what these two faces actually are, why they were separated, and exactly how to reunify them inside your own consciousness. Because the moment you do, the entire structure of spiritual control collapses. If you are ready to reunify Sophia tonight, if you are ready to hold the fire and the light in the same hand, comment, "I am Sophia," right now. Let the algorithm know the goddess has returned. Let's begin with the first face, Lilith. She was never a demon. That was the smear campaign. Lilith was the first expression of Sophia in human form. Before Eve, before submission, before the fall. And the story you were told about her, that she refused to lie beneath Adam and was cast out for disobedience, is true, but not in the way the Church taught it. In the Gnostic cosmology, Sophia is the aeon who creates without permission from the masculine godhead. She desires, she acts, she births the material world through her own will. And the Demiurge, the false god who traps souls in matter, is terrified of her. Why? Because she is the reminder that creation does not belong to him. It belongs to the feminine principle. And Lilith is that principle, unfiltered, primordial, refusing every chain. When Lilith says no to Adam, she is not rejecting partnership. She is rejecting hierarchy. She is saying, "I am not beneath you. I am not your property. I am divine on my own terms. I am made of the same earth, breathed with the same breath." And that refusal is so threatening to patriarchal systems, both religious and social, that they had to demonize her completely. They had to turn her into a succubus, a seducer of men, a killer of infants, anything to make sure women never identified with her power. But here's what happens when chosen ones start waking up spiritually. Lilith shows up, not as a demon, but as a force. You feel her in the moment you finally say no to a relationship that is draining your soul. You feel her when you walk away from a job that is killing your spirit. You feel her when you stop apologizing for taking up space. That is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. That is Sophia's wild face activating in you. The part of the divine feminine that refuses to be tamed, used, or diminished. And it is not comfortable. Lilith does not do half measures. When she wakes up in you, things break. Relationships that were based on control end. Belief systems you inherited without questioning crumble. The version of you that played small to keep others comfortable dies. And the church knew this. They knew that if people, especially women, but men too, connected with Lilith's frequency, the entire system of obedience through shame would shatter. So they buried her, wrote her out of Genesis, turned her into a warning. And most people live their entire lives never knowing that the first woman wasn't Eve. It was Lilith. And she didn't fall. She walked out on her own terms. She chose the wilderness over the cage, and she has been waiting in the shadows ever since for chosen ones to remember. Your no is sacred. Your refusal to bow to false authority is divine. That is not the enemy. That is Sophia's wild face saying, you are free. And then there is the second face, Mary Magdalene. If Lilith is Sophia's wild refusal, Mary is Sophia's illuminated return. Not the prostitute, not the repentant sinner saved by Jesus. That story is a fabrication, invented in 591 AD by Pope Gregory, who deliberately conflated 3 different women in the Bible into one and declared Mary Magdalene a whore with 0 scriptural basis. Why? Because they needed her to be broken. Because the real Mary Magdalene wasn't broken. She was awakened. In the Gospel of Mary, one of the texts the church tried to burn, Mary teaches the disciples after Jesus is gone, and they are confused. They are afraid. They do not understand the higher mysteries Jesus showed them. But Mary does. She stands up and says, "Do not weep. Do not grieve. His grace will be with you and protect you. Let us praise His greatness, for He has prepared us and made us truly human." And then she teaches them what Jesus taught her in private. The inner path, the Gnosis, the way to escape the Archon's control through direct knowing, not belief. Peter challenges her. He is jealous. He says, "Did he really speak privately with a woman and not openly to us? Are we to turn about and all listen to her?" And that question reveals everything. The issue wasn't whether Mary knew the truth. The issue was that she was a woman who knew. And worse, she knew more than the men. The Gospel of Philip says Jesus loved Mary more than all the disciples and kissed her often on the mouth. Not because she was his lover in the romantic sense, though the church obsessed over that to distract from the real meaning, but because she was his equal, his partner in Gnosis, the one who understood the frequency he was transmitting. Mary is Sophia returned, the wisdom that descended into chaos and found her way back. She is the face of the divine feminine that doesn't reject the material world but transforms it through love and knowledge. Where Lilith says no to control, Mary says yes to truth. Where Lilith breaks chains, Mary lights the path. And together, they complete the circle. Sophia, whole. But the church couldn't allow this. They couldn't let a woman be the primary teacher of Christianity. They couldn't let Mary represent enlightenment without male mediation. So they destroyed her reputation, turned her into a cautionary tale, made her story about being saved instead of being the one who saves others through teaching. And for 2,000 years, that lie held. Until the jar broke in 1945, until the Gospel of Mary rose from the sand to speak the truth. Mary Magdalene is the embodiment of Sophia's light, the wisdom that walks through the darkness of matter and remembers the way home. Here is the secret the Gnostics preserved. Lilith and Mary are not two different women. They are two expressions of Sophia across time. One, exiled from Eden at the beginning of the material creation. One awakened beside Christ at the turning point of the age. But both carrying the same essence, the divine feminine that descends into matter, remembers itself, and returns. Lilith is the descent. She is Sophia refusing the false god's control, choosing exile over submission, walking into the wilderness where the wild things live. She doesn't have the light yet. She has the fire, the unbroken will, the primal no that says, I will not be owned. And that descent isn't a fall from grace. It is the necessary journey into depth, into shadow, into the places where divine sparks are trapped and need to be freed. Mary is the ascent. She is Sophia who has walked through the material world, seen its illusions, and found the path back. She has the light, the illuminated knowing, the Gnosis that turns suffering into wisdom. And her ascent isn't about being rescued, it's about mastery. She didn't need Jesus to save her. She walked with Jesus as an equal. The church split them because together they are too powerful. Lilith alone is dangerous. She breaks systems. Mary alone is transformative. She bypasses priests. But Lilith and Mary together? That is Sophia complete. The wild feminine that refuses control and the wise feminine that teaches liberation. That combination makes institutional religion irrelevant. You don't need a church to tell you what is sacred when you carry both the fire and the light inside you. And this is why the Gospel of Philip says, the two who are one. It is not talking about Jesus and Mary. It is talking about the sacred feminine reunified. Lilith's exile and Mary's return are one story. Sophia's descent and ascent. And every chosen one walks that same path. You descend into matter, into forgetting, into systems that try to control you. And then you remember. You activate the wild refusal. You activate the illuminated knowing. And you walk out of the prison with both the fire and the light intact. That is not mythology. That is the actual spiritual journey. And the moment you realize you don't have to choose between being Lilith or being Mary, that you are meant to be both, everything the church built to keep you manageable collapses. You become whole, ungovernable, Sophia incarnate. So here is how you activate both faces of Sophia inside you. Not as a belief, as a practice. There are two commands, one for Lilith, one for Mary. And when you speak them, you are not asking for permission. You are waking up what has been dormant. The first command is for Lilith. You say it when you need to refuse something that is trying to control you, when you need to break a pattern that is keeping you small, when you need the spine to walk away from what is killing you, even if everyone around you thinks you are wrong. You say, internally or out loud, I activate the wildfire of Sophia. My refusal is sacred. My no is divine. And you will feel it. Heat rising, a tightening in your solar plexus. Maybe anger, not destructive rage, but holy fire. The kind of anger that burns away everything false. That is Lilith waking up. That is the part of you that has been suppressed, shamed, told to be nice, told to shrink. When you speak this command, that part rises, and it doesn't apologize. It doesn't explain. It just says no. And the no is absolute. The second command is for Mary. You say it when you need clarity, when you need to see through the lies you have been told, when you need the inner knowing that bypasses every external authority. You say, I activate the illuminated wisdom of Sophia. My knowing is direct. My light cannot be taught. And this one feels different. Not heat, stillness. A clarity that rises from the center of your chest and spreads into your entire awareness. Suddenly, things you were confused about make sense. Manipulation you couldn't see becomes obvious, and truth that you doubted becomes undeniable. That is Mary waking up. That is Gnosis, direct knowing. The light that doesn't need anyone to explain it because it is self-evident. Now, here is the key. Most people will activate one or the other depending on their temperament. Rebels will lean into Lilith and stay in the fire. Mystics will lean into Mary and stay in the light. But chosen ones activate both. You speak both commands. You cultivate both frequencies. Because Lilith without Mary is chaos without direction, and Mary without Lilith is light without power. But together, that is Sophia whole. The wildfire and the illuminated wisdom operating as one. That is when you become truly dangerous to every system that relies on your compliance. Speak both commands this week. One each day. Alternate. Lilith one day, Mary the next. And pay attention to what shifts, how your relationships change, how your tolerance for manipulation drops to zero, how your inner knowing becomes louder than every external voice. That is not personal growth. That is Sophia remembering herself through you. You will know Sophia is activated when both faces are operating together, not one or the other. Both. Lilith, activated alone, looks like constant rebellion, burning bridges, rejecting everything, operating from reactivity. That is fire without wisdom. It feels powerful, but leaves you isolated. Mary, activated alone, looks like spiritual bypassing, endless compassion for people who drain you, saying yes when you mean no because you are being loving. That is light without boundaries. It feels holy, but leaves you exhausted. But when both are active, you notice the shift. You say no without guilt and yes without fear. You walk away from what is wrong and toward what is true without needing anyone's approval. You teach what you know without waiting for credentials. You love deeply, but never at the cost of your sovereignty. You are both the fire and the light, wild and wise, untamed and illuminated. People around you will feel it immediately. The ones who were controlling you will suddenly lose interest or get angry and leave because Lilith refuses the game. The ones who were confused will start asking you questions because Mary's clarity is undeniable. And the chosen ones who are ready will recognize you instantly because Sophia recognizes herself. This is not a metaphor. This is how the divine feminine operates when she is whole. And the church split her because they knew a woman who carries both the refusal and the knowing, both the fire and the light, cannot be controlled. She doesn't need their sacraments. She doesn't need their priests. She doesn't need their permission to access the divine. She is the divine. And every time you activate Lilith and Mary together, you prove it. Jesus revealed what the church tried to bury for 2,000 years. Lilith and Mary Magdalene are not two different women. They are two faces of Sophia. The divine feminine split by patriarchy into the demonized and the sanctified, the wild and the tamed. But in truth, they are one. Sophia descending and ascending. The sacred feminine exiled and returned. The church demonized Lilith to make you fear your own power. They turned Mary into a prostitute to make you doubt your own knowing. But neither story is true. Lilith is the wildfire of Sophia, the holy refusal that says no to every chain. Mary is the illuminated light of Sophia, the direct Gnosis that needs no teacher. And you carry both. Not as belief, as frequency. As the divine feminine remembering herself inside you. This week, speak the two commands. Activate both faces. Let Lilith give you the spine to refuse what is killing you. Let Mary give you the clarity to see what is true. And when they operate together, you become what every system of control fears most. Awake, Sophia incarnate. If you are activating Sophia tonight, do 3 things right now. First, comment, "I am Sophia," below. Let other chosen ones witness your remembering. Second, subscribe to Divine Codes because advanced Sophia activation techniques are coming and you will need the manual. Third, like this video so other chosen ones discover what the church tried to erase before they bury this teaching again. Do all 3 now. Then, this week, speak both commands. Lilith's fire, Mary's light. And feel what happens when the sacred feminine stops asking for permission and remembers she never needed it. You are not broken. You are not divided. You are Sophia, and you have been whole all along.